Good morning, folks, on this beautiful Monday morning. So a few things today. First, as promised, right now as we speak, the folks or the company is working on the channel 1390, the touchdown channel for Lexington Village. So final preparations from a vendor standpoint are happening. We may see some electrical trucks on campus here in Williamsville for the next few hours. What this is going to mean is that starting at about 10:30 today, that there'll be some minor interruptions for Cambridge, Bedford, and Lexington villages, about a half an hour each intermittently through that time frame as the electricians put the final touches on what they have to do to hook up the electrical lines, etc., from the main building over to Lexington Village. So that's happening this morning, which is a milestone because we've been working on it for most of the summer. And then Jeff, who's here with me this morning, tells me that then Spectrum will come in hopefully later this week and put the final touches on that. And then Lexington Village will have channel 1390 available to them, which they'll be able to watch me live every Monday and Wednesday, so they're so lucky for that they're able to do that. I know they're all looking forward to that. Seriously, it's a long time coming for them to be able to have the touchdown channel, so we're glad to be able to supply that.
The interruption will be only on cable and telephone.
The interruption Jeff just mentioned to me will be on a little bit on telephone and cable TV. So if you're watching this and after 10:30 today you get a minor interruption in your television service and or your phone service, please, it's temporary and it's just part of the process here. I should have probably mentioned this to the front desk because I'm assuming Corinne is watching this and or Nancy, and they're probably going to get some calls, so I'll talk to them afterwards. Wanted to talk about something that's fairly important just to keep residents and family members, etc., up to date on things that we have to deal with regularly as it relates to the regulatory process that we're going through the COVID process, which is multi-layered and sometimes maddening. So every single day we have to submit something called a HERDS report, H-E-R-D-S report. It's an acronym. I don't know exactly what it stands for. I used to. But what it is every single day, 7 days a week, for both assisted living here and at Gate Circle, and for skilled nursing, we have to submit a report by a certain time to the state of New York via computer that details whether any residents or staff members have tested positive for COVID or we suspect them. We also have to give them daily counts of our personal protective equipment, that's masks, gloves, face shields, all of that. We, as a healthcare provider, long-term care, along with all other long-term care providers in New York State, have to do that every day. We've been doing it for 6 months. And so, kind of is what it is, right? We're in that groove and we just do it. So, middle of last week, on the assisted living side, we're in the process of doing that report. The person that submits that report was in the process of doing it. They got called away for a resident issue, kind of a serious thing. And so as a result, the report that we submitted to the state, the middle of last week, was 2 minutes late. 2 minutes. 2 minutes we know because the reports are time-stamped. So we've been doing this for 6 months. We're 2 minutes late. I get an email. Visitor gets an email within a half an hour stating, get the reporting. Well, it had already been in at that point because it just automatically generates these reports. As a result of being 2 minutes late, submitting this report to the state, the middle of last week, not only did I get this email, but we also got a citation from the state, which is something that we have to submit a plan of correction to and slap on the hand saying, don't do this again. And then the same day we got that citation, I received a call from the New York State Department of Health Assisted Living Division telling me that I had to suspend visitation for the assisted living, both here, Williamsville, and at Gate Circle, meaning that no family could come in and visit their loved ones until we corrected this issue. Now the issue was that we submitted a report 2 minutes late. For the first time in 6 months, and only because that the person submitting that report was dealing with a resident emergency issue. As a result of that, the state, in its infinite wisdom, called me to say you have to suspend visitation. I said to them I would not. In fact, I submitted it in writing to Albany to say we will not we will not cease visitation, and I may have added that this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. That may have also preceded the we will not submit visitation. So, needless to say, it provoked some hand-wringing in Albany because this is the rule, and they can't go outside of their box, right? Now, keep in mind, of course, Canterbury Woods Assisted Living and Skilled Nursing have never had a case of COVID since this started, and we still have, it's it's late August, almost September, and we have still never had a case of COVID organizationally with any of our residents. So, next day, the state came back to us and said, oh, you don't have to cease visitation. Just go through this process, which is fine. But it just illustrates the regulatory mayhem that we have to deal with as a long-term care provider, not only us, but throughout the state of New York, I'll call it the craziness relative to dealing with the powers that be and the punishments that are laid out now if the rules aren't followed. These rules that are perceived to be the perfect scenario aren't followed to a T. Meanwhile, the state of New York has created many of the problems that we're dealing with right now within long-term care. So I just would like to share with that with folks so kind of a peel behind the curtain, some of the things that we deal with to continue to move forward in a positive way. Because obviously, visitation between family members and residents is crucial. It's extremely important. And why would the state of New York, in their infinite wisdom, punish residents and family members for a 2-minute late mistake? It makes no sense at all, if you really think about it. You don't even have to think about it. It just makes no sense at all. So we pushed back, we dealt with it, and life goes on. So I mentioned no positive cases, which is great. I will tell you that with recently a resident in Independent tested positive, and then we found out it was a false positive. So needless to say, we were working on that for the last week or so, but we were fairly confident that it was going to come back as a false positive, and it did. We've had a couple of those with staff members as well, who've initially tested positive, and then right away tested negative. No symptoms, nothing, everybody felt fine, so we kind of had that feeling. But it just goes to show you that it's not a perfect system, right? The tests aren't 100%. And you have to connect all the dots all the time, and that's really what part of what this process of COVID has taught us is you have to connect the dots. So good news on that, and we continue organizationally. Here we are into the last week of August, and starting from early March, we've been COVID-free. And I thank everybody, residents, staff, visitors, for doing the best that they can with the protocols that we've put in place. I'll end by saying that you've heard me talk about the antigen testing that we were trying to procure here, both here and at Gate Circle, so that we're able to test visitors. We've been going back and forth on our ability to get a product here, and as of late last week or the middle of last week, we thought that we're going to have to continue to wait a while. Just later last week, we found out that the federal government is actually shipping us at least one antigen testing machine. I don't know when that's coming, but we did get official word, an official email from the federal government saying that we're getting one along with the reagents to use that. So that will, once we get that, continue to open up the possibility that we'll be able to bring residents, visitors on campus and be able to test them. So more to come on that. That's a positive thing. We've been working on it for months now. And that ability to have an antigen testing machine here on campus, if it's only one, it'll at least allow us to do some intermittent testing for possible visitation for our independent residents and to use it for other things as well. So if anybody has any questions about anything that I talked about today, again, you can always email me. It's rwallace@echa.org. And step off my soapbox for the day. And I look forward to seeing you again on Wednesday. Thank you.